Hey everybody, it's Heather with Diamonds and Dragonflies, and welcome to part 4 of Mental Health and Diamond Art. Um, for those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm glad you've decided to take the plunge and dive into my mentally challenged life. I guess that's the best way to put it. For those of you that have stuck by me and are returning, thank you. You have no idea how much your support and your loyalty means to me. It has been a godsend these uh, these first few months of 2024. I say that and I expect it to be like May, and it's only the beginning of February, so which is just sad and scary in and of itself. As you can see at the time of this filming, my sutures have not come out yet. I am actually filming this on Thursday, the 8th, today at 1:20 Eastern Standard Time. My stitches are being removed. Yay. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about that today, too. Um, Today, we're going to talk about what kinds of things affect me and what kind of situations that I have to prepare myself for, and what some of my coping mechanisms are, how I prepare for certain, how do I want to word this? How I have to prepare for certain situations, how I handle certain situations that there is no time to prepare for, um, what kind of coping mechanisms that I have developed over the past year. And yeah, I'm saying the past year because I really wasn't coping too well before then. And I'll discuss some of the things of how I used to handle things versus how I'm trying to get away from those inappropriate ways of dealing with things, to how it's come about and how I've kind of gotten to where I am and how I can cope with things. I'm not really going to keep a time on this one. I've tried to keep the others to about an hour. I'm just going to kind of run the gambit with this one, and however long it ends up being, it ends up being. I don't edit my videos, which you might say, yeah, Heather, that's obvious, you know? So I apologize if you guys have any complaints or, uh, if anything is off or whatnot in my videos. Uh, I just want to keep it as honest and real and fluid, just how it's coming out. I don't want it to feel staged or rehearsed in any way, in any way, shape, or form. Um, so yeah, I guess that's about where I'm at. I figure if you want to stick through the whole thing with me, you will. If you don't, then you don't, and that's 100% your prerogative. Um, we'll talk about how that in and of itself is an improvement in my life. So, unlike Whippin' Chats, I am not going to go over what I'm working on. Um, it might come up how I got to where I'm at with what I'm working on today, but it might not. I don't know if the conversation is going to take that turn or not. So just if you're just listening to this as like a podcast kind of thing, go for it as you're doing whatever. If you're going to craft along with me while I'm running my mouth, then that's all great. I don't consider this a quote whip-in chat. I'm not here to, talk about what items I'm using and how much I love them or any of that. it's just easier for me to talk and share things while I'm diamond painting, because diamond painting is a coping mechanism for me. And we'll get into that more. Um, so by doing this and having these talks while I'm diamond painting, it actually allows me to have these talks. So let's dive in. So I am still using my left hand, much to my dismay. And I am doing squares, so please don't make fun of me as I am doing this, because I'm still not all that great with squares with my left hand. So there might be, if you are watching, a lot of correction going on. So handling and preparing for different situations. So a healthy person mentally, and someone who, yeah, that was lovely, wasn't it? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm diverging. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh my God. Words are hard this morning. So whereas I know that there are people that can just handle situations as they arise, and they can just roll with it or figure it out, that's not what happens with me. So for a very long time, as in, let's see, I'm 51. I was diagnosed 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2019. Wow, almost 5 years ago? Damn. Okay. 5 years ago, not quite 5 years ago, because it was April of 2019 when I do believe when I officially received my borderline personality disorder diagnosis. Wow, I'm already losing my train of thought. Okay, so prior to 5 years ago, so 46 and younger, how I would deal with situations and emotions and emotional situations is I did a lot of yelling. I did a lot of screaming. I did a lot of berating. I thought and felt like whatever my opinion was of a situation, that I was right and everyone else was wrong. That's just how it was. I mean, I can remember as a teenager literally sitting Saturday mornings in the rocking chair. Oh, hey, Woo. You gotta love my old English bulldog. Hang on, I gotta go shut the door to the room. When he decides to make an entrance, he just shoves the door open and just comes right on in. I'm beginning to think that maybe he has borderline personality disorder. I don't know. He has something. He definitely has I am a woo, and therefore I can do whatever it is I want to do. Which is funny for me to say that, because that's kind of how I felt about myself. I am Heather. I am all-knowing. I am the supreme authority, and I'm right about everything. But like I was saying, I can distinctly remember being a teenager, sitting in my grandmother's Boston rocking chair, which resided in the eat-in kitchen of the house I grew up in with my mom and my brother, and sitting on Saturday mornings while my mom ate her breakfast and getting into an argument with her every single Saturday, because I would be reading the paper and our local paper. And I would have opinions on articles and issues that were coming up in my hometown. And I would get into an argument with my mom. And my mother would say things and make comments along the lines of, you always have to be right, Heather. You always have to have the last word. You think that your opinion is the only opinion, and that's just it. I remember in my early 20s, shortly after, well, it wouldn't be my early 20s. It would be more like my mid to late 20s. I had my son, but it was before Emily was born. And I had to come into our local, radiology place to have an ultrasound done. And I walk in, and there's my childhood friend sitting behind the desk. When I was pre-kindergarten, my mother worked full-time at Woolworth's department store in the toy department. And my aunt, her sister, who lived in that back apartment, she babysat me. She was my, I guess you could say, my daycare provider, so to speak. Well, not only did she watch me, but a friend of hers had a daughter who was 7 months younger than me. And I think she was 7 months younger than me. I don't know. She was born in 73 and I was born in December of 72. So we were less than a year apart in age. And her name was Heidi. And my aunt watched her every day too, Monday through Friday. So Heidi and I grew up together from the time I was 3 years old. My aunt watched both of us. And so she was my best friend. She was my first childhood friend. We stayed friends through middle school. When high school came around, we kind of went a little bit our separate ways. It was the kind of thing where we would actually run into each other someplace, and then we'd kind of hang out for a little while, but then we would drift apart again, etc. Well, I walk in and there's, my childhood friend. And I was like, wow, oh my God, how have you been? And she's like, oh, wow, I've been great. How are you? She had gotten married. She had a child of her own. And at this point, I had Samantha and I had William. So, of course, we did the whole exchanging of phone numbers. How's your aunt? How's your mom? How's your mom? And we talked about getting together and, having dinner or something. Her husband and her and me and my husband. Well, we did get together, but we ended up it just being her and me and not the spouses. They both chickened out. Well, when we got together, her and I are sitting there and we're talking, and we start talking about, when we were kids. And I start reminiscing and bringing up some memories of things. And one of the things I brought up and talked about was I was like, yeah, God, I remember us, playing Barbies and playing on, the back porch at Aunt Marion's house, and, with the puff and play Barbie furniture, and setting up the pool and having our Barbie swim, in the puff and play pool and all of this. And I'm all excited talking about these memories. And she's not really responding. And I'm like, do you not remember that? And she's like, yeah, I remember it. I just remember it very differently than you remember it. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, truth be told, Heather, I hated playing Barbies with you as a child. Well, why? Because I knew she had an extensive Barbie collection, just like I did back in the day. And she's like, well, can I be honest here? And I'm like, yes. Why? I've thought about these memories over the years, very fondly. She's like, Heather, I don't consider it a fond time because I spent the whole time with you talking for me. What do you mean? And she's like, well, we'd be playing make believe, and you had your Barbie, I had my Barbie, but yet you constantly told my Barbie what to say. And if I said something or had my Barbie say something that wasn't what you wanted it to say, you would say, no, that's not what your Barbie needs to say blank, 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 blank. And I remember at the time when we're having this conversation, like, what the hell is she talking about? That's not how I remember it. What? Okay, what is like wrong with her? So it's like, okay, well, all right, well, we won't talk about that anymore because I don't think that's right, but I'm not going to argue about it here in a restaurant. So then I started talking about, well, remember when we used to play, like Rockstar, and, keep in mind, this was before karaoke, existed, or karaoke machines or anything like that. So, we used to put on a record. Yes, a record, because I'm that old. Hell, at times it was an 8-track tape, okay? But, we would put on music and we would make up like dance moves and we would sing, and dance. And we used to watch a show called Solid Gold that would have, performers on, and there were the Solid Gold dancers that would be dancing, while the artists were singing. Well, I start talking about that. Oh, well, remember when we used to do that? And, yeah, I remember that. And I could tell she wasn't enthused, with the conversation. What, did I tell you what to say or what lyrics to sing? She goes, well, on more than one occasion, we did get into an argument over what the lyrics of a song were. Because, of course, back then, you didn't have, the internet. You didn't have, at that time, you also didn't get, the lyrics weren't printed, on anything. Years later, they started including the lyrics on the inside of a cassette tape or on the inside of, pamphlet or dust cover of a CD. That wasn't a thing back then. So you figured out what the words were by playing the song over and over and over and over and over again, hoping that you were able to make out and hear what the person was saying. Well, let's face it, with the quality of albums, LPs back then, a lot of times it was difficult, and of course, the technology just simply for recording artists wasn't as good to clean up and fix the clarity of the artist singing. So sometimes you got the words wrong. I mean, it's funny, it's like even to this day, I'll hear an old song from back in the day, one that sticks into my head, and I can't think of what was wrong with it, but I just remember hearing the song Private Eyes by Hall & Oates, and I bring that one up because that was actually the first LP I ever owned, that I owned, that wasn't my mom's or whatever. And I remember being like in my 30s and hearing the song and going, oh, that's what the words were. Because I had been singing it wrong for like 30 years. And it was like, oh, okay, that's what he's saying. Well, that makes a lot more sense than, what I thought he was saying. So, it was, but I'm like, okay, so what did I do wrong then? And she's like, Heather, we only ever did the songs you wanted to do. You always took the lead. I always had to sing basically backup. And you would tell me what dance moves I was supposed to do. And if I ever wanted to do something different or suggested anything, you were like, yeah, no, that's not, no, we're not doing that. And I was like, so basically what you're telling me is that I was a really shitty friend. I was a controlling, self-indulgent, narcissistic piece of crap. And essentially, you were kind of forced to spend time with me. And, okay. Sorry, I just noticed that not all the drills came out when I was dumping my tray. And so they're still in the tray, and I don't want them mixed in with the new color I put in here. So, sorry. I guess I can't tweeze and think at the same time. But she's like, well, I'm not trying to be mean, but essentially, yes. So here I had all of these memories from my childhood, all these memories of her, thinking that we had been so close that was all basically kind of make-believe in my head. Did we spend time together? Did we do these things together? Yes. But she's miserable. And she apparently would go home every day to her mom and be like, do I have to go back? Do I have to go and spend time with her? Her mom used to make those cakes. I think it's Wilton is the brand where you would buy the Wilton cake pans shaped in different characters. And they would all have like the fancy icing, that would make it look realistic. Well, her mom made these cakes as a side hustle and sold them. Well, I remember for Heidi's 4th birthday, she had a Sesame Street party. She was really big into Sesame Street. We both were. Because, basically we grew up watching it. Well, I don't remember who bought them. I don't know whether it was my mom or whether it was her mom or my aunt or how we got them, but we were bought together matching scarves and hats. It was a ski hat that had the pom-pom ski caps, but instead of a pom-pom at the top, it had Big Bird on the hood. or, like on the top where the pom-pom would be. And it was a scarf that that had the Sesame Street characters on the scarf. And the fringes were made to look like feathers from Big Bird. And there's a picture of Heidi and I sitting on my toy box wearing a matching jumper outfit that my mom used to make my clothes when I was a little girl. And it was her and I. My mom had made us matching jumpers, and we were wearing the matching jumpers. And we both had the Big Bird hat and scarf on. But in the picture, Heidi is crying. She's very unhappy. But yet I'm like full on smiling like it was the best day of my whole life. Well, I went and I brought up that picture because I had brought with me a photo album of some pictures of us as kids. And I was like, oh, look at this. I said, I still don't know why you were so upset that day and why you were crying in that picture. And I look over and she's crying again. And I was like, what's wrong? She said, the simple fact that you don't even know why I would have been upset or why I was crying in that picture. And I'm like, well, why? She said, I don't know. Maybe because you told me that I shouldn't wear it because I looked awful in it and that you looked fantastic in it. But I looked terrible and I shouldn't wear it. Well, here, 25, 30 years later, the person who I considered my best friend is sitting here telling me this, and she's crying. And whereas when I think about it today, it makes me want to cry that I ever acted like that or treated her like that. And I know some of you might be sitting there thinking to yourself right now, you were a child. Kids say dumb, stupid, hurtful things. Yes, that is true. We do those things as children. But this was different. Because even as an adult, at the time that this conversation was happening, I still didn't understand it. I still didn't get it. Like, I don't understand why, well, I did. I did look better in it than you did. She had blonde hair and the yellow from Big Bird kind of washed her out even more. Not like, a 4-year-old is going to recognize that. And that be the reason that I would say it, at the time. But as, a 20-something adult, I was like, well, I did look better in it than you did. Who says that? Who acts that way? Well, apparently someone with borderline personality disorder acts that way. Because I did. Needless to say, after that dinner, Heidi and I have actually seen each other twice since then, both times at her job. And it was basically just kind of, oh, hey, how you been? Oh, that's good. All right, well, thanks. Because she was the receptionist or she worked the front area where, I would tell them, I was here for my appointment. And that was it. We never saw each other socially ever again. I had another friend who I had been friends with since she was 4. I was 3 years older than she was. I was 7. She was 4. And I became friends with her out of the fact that I was friends with her brother. And I kind of subsequently became friends with her. And we were like best friends. She's the godmother of my youngest child. A huge part of my teen years, a huge part of my 20s. And then by the time Emily was 4, right around when, now granted, there were other reasons for this happening, mind you. But basically, shortly after Emily turned 4 years old, we were no longer friends. And it started because I was still married to my second husband at the time when our friendship ended. I got jealous. She started spending time and hanging out with a mutual friend. There were 3 of us that used to get together and play Rummy Cube once a week at Nicole's house. Well, Nicole and Julie started spending more and more time together doing things, and I was not always included. Well, they had a lot of shared interests that I didn't share, and neither one of them had children. So there were things they liked to do, like to go out to clubs, go to bars, and that just wasn't my thing. Well, I got very jealous, and instead of accepting the fact that my friend could have friends and do things with other people that didn't need to necessarily involve me, I had to say nasty things about it and essentially make up things that were untrue. Well, they both told me to go to hell, essentially. And it's been 18 years now. So a 25-year, like a 25-year friendship ended because I got jealous and couldn't handle it. And made it all about me. And well, obviously they were doing something wrong because they shouldn't be doing these things. So that's how I dealt with things. And that's how, apparently, I treated people, not realizing, not understanding that behavior wasn't okay. And not only did I not understand or realize that behavior wasn't okay, I didn't believe that anything that I was doing was wrong. Everyone else was wrong. I wasn't wrong. How can I be wrong? I'm Heather, for God's sake. What the hell's wrong with all you people? Of course I'm not wrong. And I'm saying that sarcastically right now. Hang on a second. I need a drink. Okay. So when I would get stressed, when I would get upset about things, it was always somebody else's fault. Well, somebody else was to blame. If it was because I had done something wrong, like made a mistake. I mean, we're human. We make mistakes. Yeah, well, Heather didn't. So if I messed up something, it was because you did something wrong. You gave me the wrong information. Well, I did that because X, Y, and Z. I could never just say, wow, I really messed that one up. You know, I screwed that up. No, I didn't need to apologize for anything. I didn't need to take responsibility. I didn't do anything wrong. Not. But that's how I felt. That's what I believed. That's what I thought. I was horrible to the point that my current husband, when I met Kirk, he was the most generous, giving person. His attention to detail regarding gifts, the simple fact that he bought me gifts. And I say that because when I was married to the father of my children, after we got married, I never received another birthday or Christmas present for the 9 years that we were married. I got birthday and Christmas presents while we were dating. I got birthday and Christmas presents while we were engaged. Once we said I do, I never got another birthday, Mother's Day, or Christmas gift ever again from my, at the time, current husband. Did I get a package or a gift that was from my children to me? Yes, because my mother made sure it happened. My mother always had the kids either make me something or buy me something that was from them for all the, my birthday, Mother's Day, and Christmas. Which was the job of my husband. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. Now, I know that there was one year that it was after Emily was born. We were not going to be having any more children. And I had expressed the desire to have at the time, it was very popular, those baby charms that you would get that were either a little boy or a little girl. And you would have their birthstone in the charm, and then you wear it as a necklace. Well, those were very popular then, and I had expressed the desire to have one of these necklaces with my 3 kids. Well, they sold them at Walmart. You could get one made at Walmart at the jewelry department. And whereas, yes, they were way cheaper than like if you went to like an actual jeweler, like, Kay's or something like that. It still wasn't cheap, at least not for my mom's pocketbook. I think they were around, I think my necklace ended up costing somewhere around $60 when all was said and done. For my 2 baby girls, my baby boy, and their, birthstones. One February, one October, and one December. Which, just as an aside, was always kind of funny because October's birthstone is pink topaz and December's is blue topaz. And I always thought it was cute and funny that my son's was blue and my daughter's was pink, with your traditional, girls are pink and boys are blue kind of thing, especially back then. That I just always thought that was, funny. Um, Sorry, my husband was saying goodbye. He's going to the dentist this morning. So he's going to my new dentist. I found this place about a year ago, and I really love it. And I convinced him, because he was looking for a new dentist, to at least go and give him a try. So I will fill you in the next Whip and Chat whether or not he liked the dentist or not, and if he plans on returning. So anyway, my mother wanted to get this for me, for Mother's Day that year. And, she contacted my husband, my, current husband at the time. Hey, Bill, are the kids getting Heather something for Mother's Day? Oh, you're not taking care of that? Because I know you usually do something with them. So he made it seem like, oh, well, I didn't want to take that away from you. And she's like, well, the kids want to get her this necklace because she had asked William, because he was the only one at the time that was like capable of having a conversation. Sammy was still nonverbal. She still had not spoken at that point in time. About getting that necklace that Heather's been talking about wanting. Oh, what necklace is that? Yes, I literally just rolled my eyes, in case you were wondering, or if it sounded like I did that. Yes, I did. And my mom's like, yeah. Well, it's a little out of my price range. Oh, how much is it? It's $60. Oh, here, let me give you the money for it. So he did pay for it. He gave her the money to pay for the necklace. But this was the best part. I knew for a fact. I didn't know I was getting this ahead of time. But when I opened it, I knew damn well that it didn't come from Bill. But yet, he took full credit for it. Look what the kids and I got you. I know I probably shouldn't let it bother me to this day still, but it still kind of like burns me up inside. But, such is life. But I kind of went off on a little tangent there. But my husband, my current husband, I got gifts for Valentine's Day. I got gifts for Christmas, and he did it all himself. Now, he never had the kids get me something. Like, he didn't take that on that role. But he always got me something from him. And I mean, he came in as the kid's stepdad. That I guess at first he didn't feel like it was really his place, that their father should be taking care of that, considering that I took care of making sure that his kids gave him something for his birthday and for Christmas and Father's Day. That, Bill should be taking care of making sure his children took care of their mother. They didn't, but my mom did. And she told, Kirk, nope, I got it. And at that point in time, they were all old enough to make me something, and I wanted something handmade from them. So Kirk's not real big with the gifts anymore. But you know why? Well, let's see. Our second Valentine's Day, our first one married together, we had a blizzard the week of Valentine's Day. Started a couple of days before and continued till a couple of days after. Well, Valentine's Day came and went, and Heather didn't get anything. I can't believe you didn't get me a gift. Once again, I marry someone and, we get married and the gifts just stop. Heather, what are you talking about? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's February 15th and where's my gift? Heather, I ordered you something. It's been delayed due to the snow. Yeah, sure. Okay, right. I didn't believe him. Why? Because I'm right. There's no possible way that could be the case. I'm right. He was insensitive. He was selfish. He didn't buy me something. 3 days later, my package arrived, and it actually arrived with a sticker attached to it. I don't even know if UPS does this anymore, but it had a sticker attached to it that actually stated the fact that my package was slated to be delivered on February 14th, but due to the weather, it had been delayed. Now, I don't know if they did that because it was Valentine's Day, but he had ordered me a Valentine's Day gift over a month earlier. Then I think it was the next year for Valentine's Day. He had a dozen roses sent to me from a florist. Well, they were a dozen red roses. Did I call him and thank him when they were delivered to me during the day? Hell no, because that's what decent, respectable people do. Instead, I called him and said, well, I got your flowers. He's like, oh, good. Yeah, why are they red? What do you mean? Why are they red? I hate red roses. I've told you that. I've told you that a dozen times. That I can't stand red roses. I like yellow or white. I want to punch myself in the face when I just relay that story. I am so appalled at myself that I would have ever acted that entitled, that selfish, and that horrible. Instead of being grateful and proud, honestly, that my wonderful husband had spent a boatload of money to buy me a dozen roses for Valentine's Day. Instead, I complain about the color. And you know what? To this day, my husband very fondly remembers that. And that is sarcasm, not fondly. I like Legos, and Lego came out with a bouquet of red roses with baby's breath as a Lego set this year. And I showed it to my husband. And the first thing he said to me was, well, you'll never be getting that from me. And I was like, why? I know better than to buy you red roses. So that left a mark. And I can tell you that, has my husband gotten me roses? Yes, he has gotten me roses like from the grocery store, but they're always like a mixed bouquet. Or in or out? Sorry, I had to stand up because Atlas is standing by the door. So I opened the door for him. And then the minute I sit down, he decides to leave. Well, guess what? My husband's gone, so I'm not closing the door now. I don't have to worry about other noises. But I've never gotten roses again for Valentine's Day. This is how I used to be. And I thought it was everybody else having a problem, not me. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I don't know what the rest of your problem is. Did that thought or opinion change immediately after being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder? Oh, hell no. It has come over the past 5 years of therapy, of talking things out with my therapist, about researching borderline personality disorder, of learning how to live with my disorder, and taking accountability for how I behaved. Is there, I use a lot of words that since my husband has gone through rehab, I have a whole new vocabulary of words like accountability. That was never a word I would have used before. Is there a 12-step program for people with borderline personality disorder? No. Should there be? Maybe. Quite possibly. I have felt like a lot of the steps of AA can be attributed to those of us who have a mental disorder. Obviously, my experience is only of those that have borderline personality disorder of myself. I don't actually know anyone else personally face-to-face that suffers with or has BPD. And I don't know all the 12 steps. My husband never got past step 4 in his recovery. So I can't sit here and quote them all to you, even though I've looked at it and read them like a dozen times. I have accepted that this is part of my life. I have accepted that BPD controlled my life, that it had a grip on me, and that I allowed my disorder, unknowingly, mind you, to dictate, rule, and control my every existence. I don't really go in for the whole serenity prayer and, all of that kind of thing. But at the same time, I have accepted that there are things that I can't change. I can't control everything. That was the biggest piece. That is when things started to change for me. That's when I discovered and decided that I wasn't going to allow having borderline personality disorder rule my life and control my everything. Everything changed for me on October 28th, 2022. That was the day that I guess you could say I hit my rock bottom. My husband had gone into rehab that Monday, October 24th. I told you that one of my biggest symptoms and biggest triggers is abandonment, that I have serious abandonment issues. I was already in crisis when my husband decided to go into rehab. He had actually asked me, "Do you want me to wait? Do you want me to wait and not go right now? Do you want me to wait till you get stabilized again and you feel more like you can handle this? Do you want me to wait until Emily is on winter break and she is home from school so that she can help you through this? Because I know this is going to be hard for you, me being gone." I wanted to scream and shout, yes, 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 yes. However, I had both of my children telling me, and I had my mother-in-law telling me, "Heather, if he waits, he's never going to go. He's willing to go now. He's willing to go now. He's willing to take this step now. You need to figure it out and you need to just let him go." My therapist was the only person who was saying to me that she thought it was a very bad idea for him to go right now while I was in crisis mode. I'll explain in a minute what crisis mode means for me. It has to do with how I used to cope. So we'll talk about that in a second. So I did the quote unquote, what I thought and felt was the adult thing. What, I hate this term, what wisest Heather should be saying and doing, which was, "Honey, you need to do this. Go. I will be okay." Okay? That's what I knew I should be saying and doing. It's not how I felt. That's not what I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to scream, why would you even think about leaving me right now? What the hell's wrong with you? Instead, I showed support. Okay. This is a big thing. This is a big step. I can figure this out. All right, we're going to backtrack here for a minute so that I can talk to you about what my coping mechanisms used to look like. I already told you that it was yelling, screaming, that was just on any given basic day that was occurring. When things got really bad, and after I had my mental break, that's when I started cutting. And so when I would have emotional reactivity and I would get upset like that, I would start cutting myself. I was cutting myself 3 to 5 times a week. I have scars to this day on my hand and on my upper left thigh that will probably never go away because my cutting got subsequently more and more deep. So I was cutting myself 3 to 5 times a week, sometimes multiple times in a day. That was how I coped. That's what I did to get by. Eating. I didn't do it. I wouldn't eat. That was how I coped. I was diamond painting at the time, but I wasn't, I guess you could say, invested in my diamond painting at the time. It was just kind of like something that I would do to pass the time at that point in my journey. So let's fast forward to my husband getting ready to go to rehab. So I came to my therapist and I said, okay, Kirk is going. He's got an intake day of the 24th of October. Emily came home from school that weekend. He went in on a Monday, but she came home that weekend. William was already out of school. He had graduated that May. He took off that day from work. And they went with me to take Kirk to the rehab facility. It was a 3-hour drive away. And I knew I was not going to be in any kind of shape to drive myself 3 hours home. So the kids coming along was literally more for me than it was for my husband. I was angry and I was hurt that he was going and leaving. I was angry that he had let his drinking get to the point that he even needed to go to rehab. Be honest with you, at the time, I was angry that he was putting his needs before that of mine. Because like I said, I was in crisis. This was before Heather's enlightenment. Okay? So keep that in mind. I had pretty much convinced myself that I would be dead before I hit 50 years old, which was happening that December. 75% of people that are diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and that suffer with it to the extent that I do, commit suicide. They don't make it to 50. And I was convinced that I was going to be part of that statistic. Self-fulfilling prophecy here, people. What I had came back to my therapist with when the decision had been made that Kirk was going to go was, how am I going to survive this? I need a plan. Well, we had called the intake place to find out some information. Is there weekly visitation? We were told yes, every Saturday from 1 to 3. Or I'm sorry, 11 to 3. Okay. So I got to make it till Saturday. Okay, 6 days. I only need to go 6 days and then I can see him. Oh, okay. I can do that. I can do 6 days. How soon till I can talk to him? 3 days. You'll be able to talk to him on Thursday. Oh, okay. So I only have to go 3 days till I can talk to him, because Kirk and I have been apart before. I've gone on vacation with just my kids. We've gone to the beach. Emily and I have gone to the beach for a weekend many times, just the two of us. I've gone to the beach with William and Emily for the weekend, just the three of us. So my only, communication and contact with my husband was via text and phone. I can do this. Okay. So 3 days till I can talk to him on the phone. And then 6 days till I get to see him. And then I can find out where it goes from there. How often am I going to get to talk to him on the phone? Can I come see him every Saturday? Or only certain Saturdays or something? Okay, we've got a plan. So we had a plan. We had a plan. And I was good with that. And I could deal with that. And I could handle that. And I'm like, okay. Now, remember what I said a couple of episodes ago? Actually, I think I've probably said it every single one. I don't do well with change. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't do well with change, that don't like change. I don't just like change. I fight it. I don't accept it. I dig my heels in no matter what it is. To the point of, even if you're talking about changing my toilet paper. No, no, no. Okay? So I expected to hear from my husband on Thursday, the 27th of October. So I get a phone call that afternoon, and it comes up the name of the rehab place on my caller ID. I'm thinking it's my husband. I pick up the phone. Hello? I'm all excited. Hi. My name is blank. I am your husband's addiction counselor. And I wanted to call and tell you that on Monday, your husband admitted himself to our program. I will be honest with you. I might have even said it out loud. I'm not sure. Because I distinctly remember feeling so strongly that I was like, well, duh, I'm the one who dropped him off. That it's possible I actually said that out loud. Maybe not. But maybe I did. I do not remember. whether I just thought it in my head or whether I actually expressed it. I wanted to let you know that I had met with him, that he's doing okay, but what to expect. He will be able to call you on Saturday. Okay, stop. Wait, what? Why is he not calling me till Saturday? I was told that I would be able to talk to him today. I don't know who told you that. The people that we talked to when he decided that he was going to do this. When we called the number for the facility and he registered to come, that's who told us. Whoever your intake person is the one who told us that. No, it's 5 days. So he's not eligible for phone calls until Saturday. So he will be able to call you on Saturday. Okay, why is he going to call me on Saturday when I'm going to be coming to see him on Saturday? Ma'am, we are not allowing in-person visitation. Okay, wait a minute. Right then and there, at that exact moment, teenage Heather busted down her cage door and she came hauling ass out of her cage, ready to rip apart anyone that got in her way. There is no other way to even remotely describe it. I don't know if any of you have ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but there is an episode where one of the teenagers that she went to school with was training hellhounds that they had in their basement, had them watching Carrie over and over and over again, and had trained these hellhounds to attack anyone that was in formal wear. Okay? Tuxes, ball gowns, that kind of thing. I was one of those hellhounds. But I was trained and fixated on killing anyone that was standing in the way of me getting to my husband. And so right then and there, this woman that I was speaking to on the phone was standing in my way of getting to my husband. That is the best way to describe how I felt and the transformation that literally had taken place at that moment. The next words out of my mouth to her were, well, we have a problem here. I need to speak to my husband right now because this is not what we signed up for. Is Kirk aware of this? Is he aware of the fact that there's not going to be any in-person visitation? I'm pretty sure he is. I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, he can't be, because if he did, the first thing he would say would be, well, I'm going to need to call my wife and talk to her because I don't know that she's going to be able to deal with this. You don't understand. I suffer from severe mental health issues. Yes, your husband has expressed that. Well, maybe he didn't express it clearly enough to you, because we have a plan. We have an action plan for how I'm going to deal with him being in rehab. And you just broke. Basically, you took my action plan, you crumpled it up, and you threw it in the trash can. Because I'm supposed to be able to talk to my husband today, and I'm supposed to be able to see him on Saturday. That is what is getting me through. And then on Saturday, we figure out what's going to happen the following week. So yeah, this isn't going to work for us. My husband is not going to want to stay there when this is not what we signed up for. This is not the plan we have. He needs to just come home. Well, I will relay to your husband how you are feeling and what is going on here with you. And then he can decide whether or not he needs to talk to you right now. And if he says that he needs to talk to you right now, then we will make that happen. We will make the exception, because we're not in the business of, denying our clients what they need to get, through this and be able to work the program. So I will go back to him and I will talk to him about this. And if he wants to call you, then we will facilitate the making of that phone call. Okay? Okay. I was crying. I was barely able to speak. Essentially, teenage Heather and childlike Heather were having a battle with each other in terms of the fact that I was so emotionally distraught, which is childlike Heather's behavior. And it's teenage Heather's job to protect childlike Heather. Well, I protect childlike Heather by being, basically the bitch from hell. Demanding, yelling, screaming, adamant, basically I'm going to kick your ass if, you don't make this happen, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where I was. That was the battle that was waging within me. So she told me to expect, I said, well, are you going to call me back and let me know? Or, well, if you get another phone call, it will be from your husband. Okay. Well, I was positive. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that if they went and told Kirk what was happening, that he was going to call me. This phone call was around 4:00 that I spoke to his counselor. 5:00 came and went. 6:00 came and went. 7:00, I called the facility. Yeah, I'm waiting for a phone call from my husband. He was supposed to be giving me a call. Who's your husband? Told them. Let me go check their file and see if there's a note, because he's not supposed to be able to make phone calls. Oh, yeah, well, I spoke to, blank, blank, and blank, and she told me that once she relayed this information to him, that if he wanted to call me, she would facilitate that. Oh, okay, well, there would be a note in his chart. Let me go check it. Okay. She came back to me, ma'am, there is no note in his chart. There is no note, period, regarding allowing him, giving permission for him to make a phone call should he choose to do so today. No, see, you don't understand. I talked to insert counselor's name here, and she told me, well, ma'am, I understand what you're saying, but she is gone for the day. She will not be back till the morning. And she did not leave those instructions. I will send her a message and find out. She'll let us know or put a note in if this is supposed to be taken care of and handled. Okay. Eight o'clock came and went. No phone call. 9 o'clock came and went. No phone call. 9:30, I called them back. Now, in the meantime, I have called and spoken to my daughter, panicked. She's at college. I am panicked. I am completely freaked out. Emily, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. Mom, you need to calm down. He's going to call you, Mom. Kirk loves you. He knew how hard this was going to be for you. He is not going to not call you. You need to give them time. You need to trust in the process and in the situation. Okay. I'm going to call them back. Okay, Mom, that's fine. But you need to pull yourself together. You need to not be a raging lunatic when you talk to them. You can't be yelling and screaming and calling them names and cussing them out, because I actually told his addiction counselor she could go fuck herself. Not my finest hour, but I did tell her that. And I actually said that in regards to the fact that she said to me, we are here for your husband. I understand that you have these issues, but you are not my patient. So your needs are not what I care about. I care about what your husband needs, not what you need. And I said, well, what my husband needs is for his wife to be okay. So you can go fuck yourself, is what I had said to her. Like I said, Teenage Heather was rolling the show. I was a hellhound. So around 9:45, I called back. I got the nurse's line. Ma'am, all of our patients are in bed. It's lights out at 10. So we are not going to be going in and telling him anything unless there is a life-threatening emergency, that there's, a life or death situation going on. But he didn't call. He was given the message, right? Ma'am, if the counselor said that she had this conversation with him, then I'm sure she did. And yes, I am sure that he knows that you've been calling. Okay. I'm not quite sure who took over at that point, because it definitely wasn't Teenage Heather, because she protects Heather. Because I just... Sorry, this is really kind of hard for me. Um, I just kept hearing in my head the woman saying that we're not going to wake him up unless there is a life or death emergency. My son was staying with me for the month because he had been living with his dad because he was closer to his job. Well, part of my action plan was William staying with me for the month that Kirk was going to be gone so that I wasn't home alone. Well, when I started getting really upset, William had gone and gotten my car keys and had taken my keys because another one of my coping mechanisms when I would get really upset and if cutting wasn't working was that I would take off and leave. So William had gone and taken my keys. So I couldn't just get in the car and drive away. Sorry, my eyesight is just like really funky today for some reason. And I can't seem to see some of these symbols. So I didn't have my car keys. William, give me the keys. Mom, stop. You don't need the keys. You're fine. William, give me my keys. Mom, it's fine. You don't need your keys. When William was little and I wanted him to stop something, to stop doing something, I would start to count and I would tell him that I was counting to 5. And basically, if he knew what was good for him, we wouldn't get to 5. At 23 years of age, I started counting to my son to 5, and you know what? He still caved. So Mama still had it as far as that was concerned. And he relinquished. We got to 3, and he gave me my keys back. I got in the car, and I drove off. Well, he called my daughter. So Emily started calling me. I wasn't answering the phone. I just started driving. I was bawling. I was crying. At one point, I pulled over to the side of the road and I called the number for crisis, which was supposed to be a mental health emergency number that my therapist had given me. That if I ever needed someone to talk to during off hours, or I was really struggling, or I was thinking about hurting myself, to call them, that there would be somebody on the other end that would help me. I had never called them before. Well, needless to say, I will never call them ever again, no matter what. And I'll tell you why. I called them and I was crying. I was upset. And I was kind of rambling a little bit. But the person on the other end of the phone was like, ma'am, you need to stop calling. You need to stop crying. Ma'am, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to hang up because I'm not going to sit here and listen to you wail on the other end of the phone. Who says that to somebody that is mentally distraught to the point that they contact and call crisis intervention, which basically was a suicide hotline? Okay, fuck you, bitch. That's what I was thinking in my head. And I'm saying, I can't stop crying. That is the problem. Well, ma'am, I'm not going to sit here and listen to it. And she hung up on me. Yeah, you heard me right. I called a mental health crisis suicide prevention line, and she hung up on me because I wouldn't stop crying. Yeah, I don't even know what to say after that, because I think about that now, and I will tell you that I feel like I need to hunt this person down and beat them in the head. Because who does that? Who says that and who acts that way towards someone who just finally had enough courage because they were scared that badly to contact this type of agency in the first place? And I called them because I was scared about what I was going to do next. And she hung up on me. So at this point in time, I've been told that my mental health action plan is crap, that I'm not going to see my husband for 30 days, and that I've been told that my husband has been told how upset I am and that I need to talk to him. And at that point, all I know is that I've been told he's been told, and that he has, because he hasn't called, that he has made the choice to not contact me. Sorry, I didn't know that it was gonna hit me this hard reliving this, because I really haven't talked about it in over a year. I'm sorry. I'm gonna pause here for a second. I'll be back when I get myself pulled together. Hey guys. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I did not expect it to hit me that hard, and for me to be in a situation where it was kind of replaying in like slow motion in my head. Like I was literally feeling everything that I felt at the time. And I wasn't anticipating that. So I pulled out my handy dandy bag of coping mechanisms, which I will talk about in a little bit, to get myself back under control. So about an hour has passed. So it has taken me roughly an hour to get myself squared away again. So I think I left off with being in the car, having called crisis, and them hanging up on me. The next, like, 30 minutes was kind of a blur. I remember driving a little further. I had no idea where I was. I was literally in the middle of nowhere. I do know that I had been headed toward the rehab facility, which, like I said earlier, was a 3-hour drive away. I was going with the intention of I was going to, break down the door or whatever I had to do, scream, call his name, whatever was necessary to get to see him at the time. That's where I was headed when I had left the house with the car. Well, after the realization that at that moment in time, I was believing that he knew that I had called and that he was making a choice not to call me. I got off at an exit. I couldn't even begin to tell you what exit or where I was at the moment. I ended up in, like, going down a street, and I was, like, kind of in a cul-de-sac in a housing development. And at the end of the road, like, I had slowed down to almost a stop because I realized I was in a court, a cul-de-sac, with just the round. There was no way out, so to speak, except to go back the way I came in. And there was this huge tree kind of at the middle of the curve of the cul-de-sac. And I hit the gas and was aiming straight at the tree, that I was just going to drive my car into the tree. That is the first and only time that I actually attempted to kill myself. That I did an action with the thought of ending my life. I don't know why. I don't know how. But by the grace of all that is real, I like to say that my father, who is dead, he died when my mom was pregnant with me. I guess just as a little aside here, I don't know how I feel about religion. I don't know how I feel about God. I was brought up in the church. I know all the Bible stories, and God and I have issues that, my higher power, I guess you can say, is my father. That when I pray, I'm not really praying to God, I'm praying to my dad, looking for guidance, wanting him to, how they say Jesus take the wheel. It's, Dad, take the wheel, please. Kind of thing in my head. So I don't know whether or not my father intervened and hit the brakes, because I don't remember ever hitting the brakes, but I did. I literally was within inches of the tree. I didn't know what to do. I was sobbing. completely out of control. I was shaking. I remember experiencing the fact that I felt like I had never felt so alone in my entire life before. Not really sure where to turn because, I had already called the crisis hotline and that went over so well. That I ended up texting my therapist. And I sent her a text that just said, Emma, I need help. Well, it was after midnight at this point in time. So she called me. Heather, what's going on? I don't know how much of what I said she could actually understand because I literally was just blubbering. I was crying so hard. She asked me where I was. I said, I have no idea. She asked me if I could make it to the hospital. Could I drive myself to the hospital? Did I have enough battery life in my phone to be able to use the GPS and get to the hospital? I said yes. I thought so. And she said, I will meet you there. So I did manage to drive myself to the hospital. And she was waiting for me. I was admitted. My husband, of course, is my emergency contact on all of my medical records. I told them where they were, where he was. And I had, spoken to them and told the doctor what had happened, the whole conversation with the addiction counselor and, everything else. And he said, he asked for the name of the facility. I gave it to him. What my husband's name was, gave it to him. And they called the facility themselves. And they told them, I was in the room when they called him. Hello, this is, York Memorial Hospital. One of your patients is the emergency contact for our patient. And they are not doing so well. And we need to speak to this person regarding their medical care. They refused to confirm nor deny that my husband was even there. Would not let them speak to him. And told them that the best they could do was give him a message if the person was there, because, they couldn't confirm or deny that if they did happen to have a patient there by that name, that they would contact them and give them the information, and it would be up to them as to whether or not they were going to call. They never called. Nothing happened. So at that point in time, both myself and my therapist were of the mindset that Kirk was done. He didn't want to talk to me. I had discovered earlier in the day, because I had gone and sat in his computer chair where he spends a lot of his time, hoping that that would make me feel better, like I would feel comforted. And when I was sitting there, I bumped his keyboard. And when I went to straighten the keyboard back up, I knocked something on the floor. Well, it ended up being that it was his wedding ring. So he had taken his wedding ring off and did not wear it to rehab. So with that knowledge, and then under the assumption and belief that my husband had been informed of everything that was going on, I, at that moment in time, felt like, well, I guess he's done. He's left me. Which is how I had been feeling earlier when I almost drove into a tree. Doing 70 miles an hour. I heard from my husband the following week. He did not call on Saturday, which was the first day that, supposedly he could call. I did not hear from him until 9 days later, when he had been there then for a week and 2 days. So 9 days after he had been admitted. I was just so happy to hear from him, and he sounded off. I did ask him, did they tell you that I called? And he said yes. And his addiction counselor was with him when he called. He was calling during his session with her. He stated that he had been afraid to talk to me. That he was afraid that I was going to ask him to come home and tell him that he could continue to drink and drink as much as he wanted, and that's why he had not called. Because he needed to be there for not only his sake, but for mine. I asked him about the wedding ring. He says that he told me that he wasn't going to wear it because he didn't want to lose it. He wasn't even sure if he would have been able to wear it while he was there, and that he didn't want anything to happen to it. And he said he told me that. I don't remember him telling me that, but, it's quite possible he did. So he didn't ask about me being in the hospital. I didn't bring it up because he sounded so vulnerable and so, I guess, weak. And my husband is an ex-Marine. The only time my husband has ever appeared weak to me was when he had a cerebral hemorrhage and he almost died. So I didn't say anything. I didn't want to upset him. I didn't want to get into a fight with him. And we had already been talking for like 10 minutes and he needed to go. He told me he was allowed visitation starting that night, that he would try and get on the list, but he didn't know if it was too late. If it was, then he would call me on Friday. Well, I didn't hear from him again until Friday. I never brought any of it up while he was there. I wanted to let it go. I was embarrassed to talk about it. As far as I knew, he knew. But I just figured, I guess he just, he can't handle it or deal with it right now with trying to deal with, getting sober. So I let it go. That night was me hitting rock bottom. I hit rock bottom that night, and that's when I decided that things had to change. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to be alone, but I didn't want to die. And that I needed to make some changes and some meaningful changes in my life. And even though I had been in therapy for 4 years at that point in time, it's almost like I finally got serious about my therapy. That's when the switch was flipped, and I knew that things had to change. I spent the next 3 weeks of him being gone having therapy 2 to 3 times a week. I had ordered some books off of Amazon about living and dealing with borderline personality disorder. Some of the things that Emma had said to me started to make sense, like they clicked into place. And we started focusing on making meaningful change in my life, having healthier ways of coping, being able to recognize the signs of when I was losing control. One of those signs, the most evident one, was I would start to cry. I would start to cry. My voice would get raised. I would raise my voice. I would start to cry, and then I would start to tremble and shake. So when I would start to feel that way, the first coping mechanism, that if I was able to have enough, if I was able to recognize these things, because sometimes it would be so overwhelming all at one time that I wouldn't be able to recognize those warning signs. That if I was able to recognize those warning signs, that the first thing was to go and to take one of my lorazepam, which I had been prescribed for my anxiety and panic attacks. The second thing, and or first thing, in case I wasn't able to recognize the signs, because I'll be honest with you, it took a good 9 months before I was able to start to be in the moment, but able to discern that I needed a lorazepam, because I would be in the moment and not able to make that conscious decision that I needed to take my medication to help calm me down. It took a good 9 months before those two things were able to happen and coincide with each other. Like I said, the first or the second, or possibly the first, because it ended up being the second or the first for quite a while, because I wasn't able to recognize that I needed to take my meds, was head to your diamond painting. And I would start to diamond paint. Why? Because it gave me something else to focus on. I can't be emotional and diamond paint. I can't be crying and be able to see clearly enough to diamond paint. Take, for instance, earlier when I needed to pause the video and pull myself together. I had to do that because I couldn't see, because I was crying, to continue to diamond paint. Could I have continued to sit here and talk to you guys without diamond painting? Yep, could have done that. That wouldn't have calmed me down. I would have continued to remain upset and emotional and out of control, because I couldn't continue to diamond paint because I couldn't see. I can't see when my eyes are swollen and they've got tears falling out of them. I can't concentrate. So if I focus on diamond painting, I can't cry. I can't get upset. That's what I mean when I say that diamond painting has literally saved my life. Because on more than one occasion, diamond painting has helped bring me back to, in the moment, the reality of what is happening to me right at that moment, and has allowed me to focus on something else that I can then process, and I can control my emotions instead of my emotions controlling me, which is the whole key. Just to fill you in, so you don't have the idea or impression that my husband was some selfish, unfeeling bastard who left his wife out on a limb to struggle mentally and emotionally while he was gone. My husband was told that I wanted to talk to him. That information was relayed to him. Literally, that was it. When I say that, Kirk, your wife would like to talk to you. She was upset. End of story. He was told that I was calling incessantly and demanding to speak to him. He was told that I was angry, which, in all fairness, yes, I was at the beginning. He was not told that I was upset about the situation. He was never told that I was in the hospital. So they lied to me. They lied to him. When my husband found out the truth, at first he didn't believe me. Because just like I couldn't believe, my daughter kept saying to me, even my therapist kept saying to me, Heather, you don't know that he was actually, they say that they told him, but you don't really know that they told him until you go and ask him. Did they tell you XYZ? But I couldn't. Of course they told him. They're not going to lie to me. Of course they're going to tell me the truth. Well, just like I couldn't believe that they were lying to me, my husband couldn't believe. He thought I was making it up. He didn't believe me. He thought I was lying, or if anything, exaggerating about the seriousness of what had happened. Because he too did not believe that they wouldn't have told him. It literally took my therapist having to relay to him what had transpired, and for him to physically see the admission, the explanation of benefits from the hospital with the date, and seeing my discharge papers, for him to believe it, that it was real. That this had happened to me, they had been contacted and they never told him. My husband was devastated. My husband was absolutely devastated. So, needless to say, we will not be recommending the place that he went. Please don't ask me the name of the facility in the comments, because I don't want to go back down that rabbit hole any more than I already have just now. I'm not here to bash, to call out, a specific facility and to bash it. This is an isolated event that happened to us. We have dealt with it. We have handled it. At the end of the day, it is what it is. We can't go back. We can't change it. So please do not ask me what the name of the facility is, because I'm not going to reveal it. I can say that a lot of the staff that was involved in, for lack of a better word, the cover-up, because that's kind of how I felt, are no longer employed there. Okay? So I can almost guarantee that even if I were to tell you who it is, does not mean that your experience would be the same, because like I said, a multitude of people were to blame and none of them are employed there anymore. So guys, I'm going to pause again. My husband is home from the dentist and I want to find out how it went. I'll be back. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. That's going to be the last interruption. I hate that there has been interruptions during this, but it's life. Um, in case you're all wondering, short version, things went kind of unexpectedly, nothing bad. I will go into it more in my whip and chat. So we will talk about hubby and the dentist in next week's whip and chat. So, like I was saying, that my first line of defense coping mechanism is if I am able to recognize my warning signs that I am headed for a BPD episode, which is kind of that's what my therapist calls it. I call it going down the rabbit hole. So that's my little Alice in Wonderland reference here. I truly feel like it's, going into Fantasyland kind of deal, to this crazy emotional state that I can get into. For some people, you might say, well, it's not always bad to bury your head in the sand, or, why is it so terrible if you go into that deep, dark place for a little while? Well, the problem is that a lot of people can go into that deep, dark place for a little while and then they can climb right back out of it. I have difficulty climbing back out. I go down and I stay there for weeks, months, years. So I need to try and avoid going down the rabbit hole. So my first line of defense, like I said, is to be able to take my lorazepam if I feel an episode coming on. Take the lorazepam and then get to my diamond art as quickly and as rapidly as I can. If I don't have the mental capacity to recognize that I need to take my lorazepam, then just get to the diamond art as fast as you can. The one advantage to getting to the diamond art, especially now, is that now I have... Sorry, there was like this weird noise coming from my... Okay, I don't know what it was, but it stopped. One of the advantages now is that now that I have my art room, that is my youngest daughter's old bedroom on the second floor, is that my diamond painting used to be in the middle of my living room. Okay. So I have an open floor plan in my downstairs. So I was kind of in the middle of everything. So it's not very private. Everyone has to pass near me or by me or through me to, watch TV in the living room, to get to the kitchen, for everything. So there was no privacy, so to speak. I was out there in the open, totally exposed. Where when I am starting to lose it and I need to engage my coping mechanisms, I need to feel less vulnerable. So I need to feel secure and safe. And that is not being out in the open, totally exposed in the living room. So the part of my issue and problem is, my number one problem with my BPD is controlling teenage Heather. That's why I refer to the fact that she is kept locked in a cage with a very large padlock, with chains wrapped around it, with every conceivable device to keep her trapped as humanly possible. Now, my therapist assures me that teenage Heather plays a very vital role in my life and as part of my personality. And that the long-term goal is to learn how to engage with her and use her to my advantage to benefit my life. But we're not there yet. So right now she needs to be restrained. So part of the advantage is for me to get to the diamond art means I have to go upstairs or go down the hallway and go into my little hidey hole, which is not the same as going down the rabbit hole. They're not the same. Okay. And the advantage to that is that by me having to remove myself from the open exposed area and go into another room, I'm not engaging anymore with whoever it is that I am having conflict with. I have been very open about the fact that my husband is an alcoholic. I mean, we have talked about the fact that, all of this happened when my husband, my hitting rock bottom happened while my husband was in rehab. My husband has not stuck with recovery. My husband continues to drink and continues to be an alcoholic. The best he ever did was get to 89 days. We never got beyond that. So my biggest issue is trying to reason. Most of our conflict happens when he is drunk and he is unfiltered. I'm also immediately triggered by him drinking based on, as I have shared with you, my abuse as a child or as a teenager. So I try to reason with someone who is intoxicated, which if you have ever tried to do that, I have already lost the battle before I even start. Okay. And all it does is literally make matters worse. So the advantage to me having to go find the diamond art is that it removes me from the situation and I stop engaging. Yes, there has actually been a couple of times when my husband has followed me to the art room to continue the argument, especially if he feels like he has the upper hand when he has been drinking. But for the most part, even while intoxicated, he will not enter this room without knocking. Unless he knows I'm filming, and then he will crack the door slightly to either whisper something to me or let me know that he needs to talk to me, that I need to pause. He doesn't just knock so that it's not on the video. So this becomes a safe zone. It reminds me of when you used to play tag as a kid, and you would have an object that when you touched it, that was your safety zone. You couldn't be got, so to speak, when you were there. Well, this is my safety zone. I can't jump down the rabbit hole when I'm in this room. Essentially. That's kind of how I look at it mentally. And once I get to the diamond painting, everything else kind of falls away. I am better if I can get to the diamond painting. I can diamond paint, but then I have someone that I can reach out to, whether it be via text, phone call, Phone call is always better, but text will suffice. Or, Facebook Messenger, some manner in which I can communicate with someone else and have a, private conversation with them. Because then I'm able to talk it out and I stay rational because I'm diamond painting while I'm doing it. That gives my brain the ability to look at and deal with the thing that caused me to need to come up here and do that in a rational manner. That it's being driven by rationalism and logic as opposed to emotion. It's not being emotionally fueled. And then everything just kind of is able to make sense. And by utilizing the diamond painting as a focal point, I'm able to deal and handle it, at least in that moment. I have tried other coping mechanisms. My therapist, the first one was focus on your breathing. Yeah, no, that's a bunch of hooey. Heather doesn't go in for that. That doesn't work. That doesn't make sense to me. That to me is like mumbo jumbo bullshit. I tried journaling. I actively tried to do that. I was a kid who kept a diary as a child. The problem that I have as an adult with it is that the journaling was actually making me more angry. Something about writing out what was upsetting me and not having anyone respond was infuriating to me. I didn't feel validated because there was no one to validate what I was saying. That's why I stated, that I get to the diamond painting that helps control the emotion, and then I can engage with someone either via phone or text. Now, you might be saying, well, what do you do if it's, 2 o'clock in the morning and there's no one you can call or text? Well, that's when I just immerse myself in other people's whipping chats, other people's YouTubes for diamond painting, and I'm listening to people that I can relate to. So that's when that comes into play. Or looking through Hulu or Netflix or Paramount Plus and maybe seeing a movie that I can stream that when I see it brings back a happy memory. Oh, wow, I loved it when I watched that, and I love this about that movie, that kind of thing. So that's what I do in those circumstances, if there is no one to talk to. Since I have started incorporating these coping mechanisms, I have not cut myself. I have only left the house to get space once, and that was during the Christmas holiday when I did not have access to my diamond painting room because my daughter was visiting. And I didn't have a designated place to get to, so I left. I left to get space and distance. I couldn't get to the diamond painting to be able to do the diamond painting. So I had to pivot. So I left and I called my friend and, was able to calm down that way. So, like I said, the breathing thing was, yeah, you can take that, you can shove it where the sun don't shine. The journaling I did try. I know it works for a lot of people. It was not successful for me. I did not feel validated. I always feel validated by and talking and having therapy with my therapist always makes me feel like better and helps with the situation. The problem is that, of course, my therapist is not available to me, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I wish she was, but unfortunately she is not. So, I have gotten better about certain situations, being able to just deal with them when I do have, the next time I have therapy. But, that only gets me so far. You have to find what works for you. This is what works for me. If you're able to take away anything that works for me and it can help you, I am so grateful for that being the case. But just like I say, breathing is a bunch of hooey to me. Maybe breathing works for you. Maybe diamond painting doesn't help you whatsoever with your, as a coping mechanism. Might not do nothing for you. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. That doesn't mean well, you're screwing it up, no. Everybody has their own set of things. They have their own pieces, their own parts of what works and doesn't work for them. We're not all clones. What works for one is not going to fit and work for everybody. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. This was a long one. I'm sorry. I apologize. If you actually stuck around for the whole time frame, down in the comments, leave me, I think there's a painting easel with a paintbrush or something like that. Find some type of art emoji and leave that in the comments so that I know that whether or not you made it all the way through. Please let me know if, you've been enjoying this series, but the length of this video was a little too long, a little too much. Please leave me a comment. Heather, you need to scale it back some. Shorten it up there, dear. We don't need as much background information, or whatever. If I'm, my son accuses me all the time of, Heather, you just need to get, Mom, you need to get to the point. So if you felt like that was the case here, please just let me know that, Sometimes I need to be reminded of that. I am a work in progress. I am my own whip. Please let me know. None of you have actually responded to this, and I've asked it at each video. Let me know whether or not you would like me to go live and have a live real-time Q&A. So let me know if that is something that you would be interested in and like me to do. So that I know where to kind of go from here. Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. If you have not subscribed, but you think you might enjoy my diamond painting content and my mental health series, please hit that subscribe button. It is free. It does not cost you anything to do so. And then you can hit the bell to be notified of when I put up new videos. Down below in the description box will be a link for my Instagram. And then there will be a link for my Buy Me a Coffee to support my channel, which is also how you enter the monthly drawing. You get one entry for every $5 you donate to the channel. And the amount of the giveaway every month, the drawing, is based off of how much was donated to my channel. Half of what is donated to the channel will be given as a gift card in the drawing. So if I only get $20, $10 is going to be what the gift card is. If I get $200, it's going to be a $100 gift card. So it's you guys kind of set the amount. Thank you all for being here and sharing in this journey with me. Please take care of yourself. Please know that I am here. There also down in the description box will be my email. Please feel free to reach out to me. I will also have my Facebook username down below so you can find me on Facebook. Feel free to send me a friend request. And you can message me through Messenger and reach out to me that way. Or you can send me a direct message through Instagram. Take care, everybody. I hope you are all doing well, and I am thinking about all of you. Love y'all. See you later. Bye.